Hey Steve,
How are you doing? You're
I
back.
like this.
Yeah, well, you see, I was getting made fun of when I helped host the Embodied Movement Summit because I was the only beardless person. So I was like,
Ah,
okay, I'm going to try. And it doesn't grow very well,
no, no,
fortunately.
it looks good. I like it. It adds a kind of like gravitas or something. Let me
I'm
close
trying
my
to.
door. I'll be right back. Hang on. Keep talking
Uh,
for you, but
Yolanda,
so anyway.
would
Hello.
Hey, nice
you
to
like
see
to
you
hear?
again.
Hello again.
Okay, I'm gonna close things out. Yolanda, I haven't met you until today, so nice to meet
No,
you.
not yet. Lovely to meet you. I'm
Hmm,
I'm looking forward to your talk.
thank you.
Do
I
you have?
can tell you the way that I structured it. I'm going to stay on track with time, Steve. Is that I structured it as kind of a little bit of a presentation and then a practice and then questions. Does that sound okay? Or do you prefer to kind of interview and
That
interject?
sounds perfect. Um, if you want us to do anything, let us know, and we can also invite some attendees to be seen on the screen if that's kind of nicer for you to see people as you're actually teaching. Because we're
Yeah, that'd
obviously
be
in web,
nice. Yeah, that'd be nice to see some people so that um
some real
yeah,
nice digital.
it was nice like what just to see the panelists right now. So
Yeah. So in terms of people who have just come to the room, people are taking some time to get to rooms. It's certainly not as easy as Zoom. We're
mm,
ironing that out at the moment. But if anyone wants to raise their hand or type in the chat that you'd like to, you're happy to have your video on, feel free to do that. So Marcella's not just talking at herself.
because then I won't see either you or Yolanda.
Yeah, I mean, we can keep our videos on as well or whatever. But yeah, it's always nice to see more humans. Or if you're
Yeah.
sick of seeing our faces, then you can drop off.
And then you'll know. I guess the question that I have is after the practice that I want to take people through. Um, I'd love to take questions, but there may be questions that, accumulate through the presentation, but I have to kind of separate myself from that. Will one of you be keeping track of that and collecting them?
Yeah, so we
Yes.
also have a, I was just going to say we have a question and answer section,
Hmm.
which participants can actually type in there if they have specific questions, and it's really easy to keep track of because the chat is just a running commentary. So
Oh,
anyone who has a question, put it in the question and answer section on here, and then
well, yeah, it says Q&A. Oh, that's great.
yeah, so it's nice, easy to keep track of. And also, in case anyone hasn't realized, if someone types a question and it's a good question, you can press a like button on it. And the ones that are most liked will come to the top. So we can be like, oh, that's a good question. Everyone wants that one answered. So feel free to do that.
Do
We've,
you want me to, will you kind of repeat that right at the beginning so that people
yeah,
know, since this is a
I do
brand new
that.
platform for so many of us?
Yeah, I'll try and keep an eye on over on Facebook and all that as well because people are in like 4 different platforms today. It's all over the place.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, those who are on Facebook as well. Um, Try and look over there as well, among my many things.
What do they see on Facebook? Just you and me?
So they've got the live stream that I click to show. Like I can actually change as a moderator with all the power. I can change which things are actually shown on the screen.
Ha,
Uh,
okay.
so yeah, they'll be able to see whenever I decide they can see.
Hmm. I'm a little bit nervous.
I was just super nervous as well. So I know how it feels. Suddenly having to interview Dr. Porges, and I wasn't prepared at all.
Oh,
Um,
that's who you got to interview. Lucky you.
our interviewer couldn't get there, and I was super scared because I had no preparation and all that. I was like, oh.
Well, I heard you did well, so I'll look forward to listening
But
to that.
what's the do you feel generally feel nerves before every presentation? So no,
It
it's
It's my excitement and like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I like, it's the excitement that starts to just,
It's
yeah.
got similar sensations, aren't there? Like sort of a slightly sort of anxious, nervous excitement. They're all very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would probably, it's the energy of almost like you'd want to run around the block or something, right? Just to kind of like integrate it a little bit. But once I get going, it starts to naturally integrate. So,
Yeah, it's almost like the TRE buzz that you can sort of bring up. I think David's going to be leading a TRE session tonight as well.
nice.
Um, it's pretty much stole like half the people from Trauma Day for this one again. Trauma Day sounds dodgy, doesn't it? But
I
know
think
what I
that's
mean.
my day. Yeah. I think that's
Yeah,
my,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. But I am talking about something different today. So I'm,
yeah.
shaking it up a little bit.
I'm sure you'll do something different again on the conference. It's
Yeah.
nice to have a few new things, isn't it?
Very much. Yeah. It was nice to think about the context of what I could offer, in the terms of self-care, because I would never really qualify my work as self-care, but then it truly is. But I just have never, I've always kind of thought, I guess I held it in that bubble bath arena, like
Yeah.
you were describing massage and bubble bath and chocolate, but it was nice to shift that frame.
Yeah. It's all of it and something else as well. Yolanda, would you like to do the honours of introducing Marcella, or should I? I don't care. I've been in front of the screen for 12 hours. Don't ask me questions like that. All right. We'll get started soon. But another 30 seconds or so. It's a little bit harder to get in. And people on Facebook, whilst you're sort of on or Facebook or the live stream on the portal or whatever else that you're in, some sort of illegal streaming from down under, I don't know. Whatever you're on, you're also free to join the Blue Jeans platform as well if you want to be more interactive. So you can go to the embodiment portal, the embodimentconference.org/home, and click through there and you'll be able to join live as well. All right, let's get this party going and introduce Marcella. So it's lovely to have Marcella back here today on our self-care weekend. She joined us for our trauma education for facilitators and delivered an incredible session. So Marcella is a somatic body worker and the founder of Fierce Embodiments. She teaches men and women to release old beliefs, hurts, fears, and restrictive way that they're held in their bodies. Trained extensively in the Grimberg method and got her start sort of in hands-on therapeutic massage and shiatsu. So she teaches a big audience, has backgrounds in body mind centering and embodied flow yoga, motion theatre, a whole heap of different things, and has taught all over the planet. So today she's going to be teaching us about transforming pain, and I very much look forward to it. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve, for inviting me onto this. As Steve said, my main training for over, about 20 years was in the Grinberg method, and at the crux of that training, it really talked about transforming pain. Pain was always sort of at the heart of the work that we did, and so when Steve invited me to do this conference, I thought, well, how can I incorporate that into self-care? And the reality is that if we look at the whole subject of pain in our lives, that it doesn't leave anybody free. At any given point in our life, we have pain. It will touch us, whether it's an ache in our shoulder or a loss of a dream, but there's pain. And so it's kind of the great humanizer if we allow it to be, but it can also be a source of great suffering when we don't allow it, when we don't know how to transform it. And there are some really simple things that you can do on your own that I want to teach you a little bit at the end, but also just the concepts behind it, behind what pure pain is, what our reaction to pain is, and why that becomes a story that suddenly we're dealing with, sometimes on a daily basis, and sometimes it causes a great amount of separation and ultimately suffering in that regard. So if I think of pain in the body, and you can pay attention right now to your own bodies, it's truly there to show you where to go. It's there to show you where to put your attention. It's not there to disturb you, bother you, and waste your time and be an annoyance. Pain says, come here. I want to be felt, and I need some care, and I need some attention. But then life pulls us, and that we don't do it. But pain is still going to be there saying, wait a minute, come back here. So it's this incredible source of wisdom that if we pay attention, can really shift something in our lives. Because our bodies actually know how to transform that pain. Our bodies always seek healing. We just get in the way. And so I thought, okay, well, if this is the case, then one of the greatest acts of self-care is to actually learn how we can transform pain. So if you take a moment and you can just close your eyes and put your attention on your body. And just very simply, nothing special, just put your attention on your body and notice where discomfort is in your body. Notice where there's tiredness, where there's pain, where your body is kind of saying, hey, pay attention to me, pulling your attention, pulling your awareness. And without needing to change it at all, just consider these questions. Consider when pain became an enemy in your life. When it became something that you have to separate from. That you had to keep yourself safe from. And just think about, like, what is your tendency around pain? Is it to minimize it? Is it to numb yourself from it? Is it to overcome it? And we'll go more into this as we go along, but I just want you to kind of get yourself thinking. And it could even be that just simply with the subject of around pain, you're starting to notice different places in your body that have discomfort and that have pain. And then take a couple deep breaths and open up your eyes, come on back. And my cat is actually communicating pain to me right now, so I'm going to open the door for her. Hang on for 30 or 10 seconds, actually. All right. So keep noticing as I talk how your body, maybe little pain points are going to come alive. And it might be little like neon lights that come out. It might be suddenly that you have to move a shoulder because you become aware of it. It might be that you put your hand on a place of your body and you start massaging it. This is your body calling for you to pay attention. So what do I mean by transforming pain? Because we can think that we know what it means, and I'm sure we do, but it is a constant exploration in the body. But in essence, it's going from a current pain experience, whatever that is, and transforming it to a new experience. And in this world of embodiment and body, that inherently holds this idea that we are becoming more in tune, softer, more expansive, with greater capacity. This is the journey of transforming pain. And I look at it as an incredibly healing act and actually what self-care is all about. It's this moment where you choose to transform a current state of being to something that feels more whole, more easeful, more in sync with life and with what's happening. So it also means that you reduce the ways that you separate from it. So a really common place that we carry tension is in our shoulders. So you might even just notice your shoulders right now. Feel if they feel tired or tense or uncomfortable. And take a breath, just with that simple entry point, whatever the sensation is of the body. And right there, you've reduced in a little bit the way that you normally separate from it. Because we can separate from it by making it numb. We can separate from it by talking about it. Oh yeah, my shoulders are so tense. I'm walking around like my shoulders are so tense. I have so much pain. I really need a massage. But just by putting your awareness there and going, I hurt here, and giving it the care that it needs with your attention, it lets your body become and integrate the pain. And this is a super important part of transformation. We usually take our pain and we put it kind of out here as something to solve, right? Like I have to, oh, my shoulder aches, or I really, I've got to fix my knee, or I'm suffering from heartbreak. But it's almost like it's out here. And when I talk about pain, I'm actually really incorporating everything. So there is the emotional pain, mental pain, spiritual pain, and physical pain. It's not separate for the body. It's just that oftentimes we deal with it from our mind as if it's separate. So one of the quickest ways to actually transform pain is to recognize that I hold this in my body, no matter what kind of pain it is. Whether you just had a heartbreak or a loss or something of your dreams got cut off, which happened for pretty much most of us during COVID. This idea of our future projection and what we were going to put into the world. All of that holds pain. And it's in the body. And the body desires to absorb it, let it move through as sensation, as vibration, as breath. It doesn't actually want to contract around it and then resolve it from the mind. And so the beautiful part about when you choose to actually go to the pain, it's almost like all the cells in your body start to wake up and join in the healing. If I have pain in my knee, it's not separate. My whole body feels that I hurt in my knee. So you can go right now just to a pain or a hurt that you know that you hold. And even with your mind, just recognize that it's not something that's out here. Something that is you. Just go to the hurt with your awareness, wherever it is. And let it become you. Not something that you have to solve, but something that your body is already working right now to heal. And take a breath and let that hurt be you, not separate. Can you hear that, Steve, in the background, that noise?
You.
Somebody's doing construction. I'm really sorry for an interruption, but I'm going to have to close the door now. All right. Sorry about that, you guys. So one of the things, yeah, that's better, yeah. One of the things that I know, and as you stay with your hurts, notice what you do. Notice if you start to kind of massage areas, if you start to kind of move. This is already your body working, which is what you want towards the pain. But one of the places that we get stuck when we start to put our attention on the pain is that we can understand it. We can have knowledge about it. We can explain the muscles that are involved. We can explain the hurt pattern that's involved. We can analyze it. You know, we can talk about pain, but that as if that were doing something. We can understand the muscles and the movement structure as if that were doing something. But the reality is that's still going at it from the mind. Your body doesn't really care if it's the psoas muscle. It just knows that there's pain that needs to be touched, wants to be touched, wants to be met. Now, it can be helpful to have that knowledge for a kind of a plan of attack, but first start just by going to the body without the extra knowledge. You're taking a layer off already when you do that. So when I look at transforming pain, I think, okay, well, what do we need? What do we need to be able to do that? Because obviously there are many reasons why we haven't, and I'm going to get to that in just a moment. We need to choose to do it. You know, we need to say, okay, I hurt here, and I want to touch this pain. I want to meet it. I want to see what's needed. So this is really the first thing, is the choice of, yes, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to bring my awareness and my attention to this hurt, to this pain. And in order to do that, you really do need time and a place to do it. Do you need, if it's something that's been chronic and has been there for a long time, you know, there are multiple reasons why it's still there, but to choose that you're going to address the pain, to put the energy and attention there, make sure that you have the time for it and also the space for it. And sometimes the time for it can just be a simple touch and a breath. And then a refusal to disconnect. So if you touch and you breathe, you're awakening something in the body, and keep that level of awakening so that you still are healing in the process of your life. Depending on the pain and how intense it is for you, it requires rest as part of the healing, which is not something we do. We're always looking, you know, if any of you were in the panel before, there was a comment about human being versus human doing. So we kind of attack pain of healing it outside of here, but we stop just resting and being with it. And in order for anything to transform, you have to give it time and space, and then also allow it to settle in the body, allow it to settle as new energy. Because when you open up old pain, chronic pain, and I'm not only talking about chronic pain, but I'll get to something that's more alive and recent. But when you open up old pain, it has a vibration, a pulsation. It might even have an emotional flow. You need time and space for that. It won't just happen, is what I'm saying. Pain doesn't just go away. If we choose to just pretend that it's going to go away, usually what's happening is that you're layering some form of protection over it. You are disconnecting from yourself. So let me just talk about what I mean about like pure pain versus a reaction to pain. So pure pain is the moment when you get hurt. It's that wound that keeps trying to heal. And it has a depth, it has an area in the body. I mean, I just keep going here because that's what you guys can see. It has qualities of sensation. It has an intensity. It has an acuteness. It might even have a density. It might have a heat. This is pure pain. Whether it's emotional or spiritual or mental or behavioral or physical. It's if you go to the body, you can describe the qualities of it, of the pure pain. And pain comes with fear. And I think this is the part this is where we become complicated around pain. Because anytime you burn yourself, your whole body has a fear reaction in addition to the pain reaction. So there's two forces at play here. And you jump back and you take care. You put your finger underneath the water, you take a few breaths, maybe relax your shoulders, and then you go back to doing what you're doing, right? But so fear is there in every moment of pain, even if it's loss, if it's heartbreak. Fear is there because fear wakes up and says, wow, everything that you were just holding on to with this person is now finished. No longer there. So it wakes up this unknown. It comes with the pain there. Every injury comes with the fear because it tells you, take care of yourself. That's harmful. It's like a warning signal that can allow you to move in ways that is safe and healthy for your body if you allow it, if you give it the space. So it's a chance for us to be 100% attentive when we get hurt. It's an absolute chance for us to feel, digest, and be very much alive and very, very full of sensation and awareness. And then the appropriate energy and alertness that your body needs to go on. But because pain and fear are, like kind of joint operators in the body, we wrap ourselves around it. And this is what I'm going to call our reaction to pain as opposed to the pain itself. So there are a lot of reasons for this. There's a lot of reasons why we wrapped ourselves around painful moments, especially, and I'm going to go back to when you were young, and even injuries when they first happened. If the pain happens and the fear joins it, and you didn't have the appropriate conditions, which I outlined, right? You didn't have the safe space, you didn't have the time, you didn't have the care, you didn't have the ability to rest. Everything got contracted into the space that you were allowed. Now, I'm not going to get into trauma here because there is a tremendous amount of trauma in these events. If we weren't safe as a child when somebody was hurting us, what did we do? We created a layer of protection that had both fear in it, held, contracted, and the pain, whatever the pain was. And this, if we didn't take the time to digest it and to transform it and to give it space and energy, because we couldn't, this becomes then a story. It becomes like our pain story in our body. And I have a really good friend, and he's a surfer and a skier and a skateboarder. And he is injured all the time. And his pain story, what he has wrapped around his pain from a very young age was, I have a high tolerance for pain. And it's not benefiting him. He may have needed it in the past, but it's not benefiting him today because high tolerance for pain in his body means that he's developed a little bit of numbness to how he feels things. He's removed himself, he's separated from the actual pain. And then in separating from the actual pain, he feels less. And then an injury has to get really strong for him to notice. And usually what that's meant in the past is hospital visit or surgery or a lot of time off of these favorite sports that he has because he's pushed himself so beyond his actual pain limit. He hasn't paid attention. So you can think for a moment, and maybe even in the chat, and I'll have a look in a bit, what your pain reaction is. And I don't care the pain if it's heart pain or physical pain. How do you react to pain? Because the pain happens. The chance for the body is to feel it fully. To feel it absolutely fully, and the body does with it what it needs, and all the energy is going into healing. But we contract around it, and we separate from it. We numb it. We protect. And that becomes that story. So maybe your story is like my friend of, I've got a high pain tolerance. Maybe your story is I've got to endure it. So I'm going to be really stoic and not show it. Or I'm going to be excessively brave. Your story could be becoming really dramatic about the pain because way back when it didn't get the attention it needed. So give some thought to what your reaction to pain is, because it just means that you didn't have the right circumstances when you needed it. So your body is still trying to heal that pain. And then that approach becomes the response to all pain and trying to keep fear at bay. But we need the energy of fear. We need the energy of the pain to move through us. That's part of what brings the healing. So I can give you maybe a bigger example. I used to train in Krav Maga, and I would train pretty intensively for about 5 years. And so I was going through a drill where we had to take a run and do a leaping round kick onto a bag. I landed with my right ankle or foot on the side of the tire that was holding the bag in place. And I sprained my ankle in a way that actually still gives me kind of chills through my body. If I had been allowed exactly what my body needed, I would have howled, I would have writhed in pain, I would have potentially cried, but that wasn't even on my mind. There was this kind of animal force that woke up in me that wanted my body just to do what it knows how to do. But what happened instead was everybody came rushing around me. They were afraid and worried for me and concerned. Ice packs were put on immediately. Lots of questions were coming my way as to what did I think I did? How bad was it? Was I okay? And I just remember being on the ground in excruciating pain, looking up at all these concerned faces and contracting because I knew I can't. My story said, don't make a big deal of it. And so then I have this contracted scenario, and that is where I started the healing process from. So first I have to undo that layer in order just to get to the pure pain and let my body integrate and digest that. And because we don't do that, other chronic conditions start to come about, right? If I don't deal with my right ankle to the degree that it needs to be dealt with, cared for, I'll start to grip my hip in a certain way, my right hip, and I will then maybe hold my belly, and I start to hold my left shoulder, and then suddenly I'm dealing with this pain as opposed to the pure pain that started it all. So it's a learning process that you go through when you transform pain. And I do think that as you transform pain, the reason that I look at it as self-care is because we have pain and we can either reduce ourselves around the pain, and then in that reduction, there's a lot of harm that happens. You don't take care of your needs. You stop paying attention to what's important. In order to shape yourself around it, you actually have to numb a little bit, contract in other places. You separate yourself into parts. And the long-term effect of that is real separation from your heart, from your dreams, from what you want, from life around you. When you allow pain and you allow your body to absorb it, it reconnects you. And I look at that as kind of the biggest act of care that we can do for ourselves, because it also has a ripple effect out into the world. So this protective layer has become something that separates us. It's not working for us anymore to keep us safe. It's actually taken us away from each other and from ourselves. And again, I'm talking about all pain. But you know that, for example, after a heartbreak, we often go into protective mode. And we take ourselves a little bit out of life. And part of that is needed. Part of it is the time and the space. But then we don't always feel the pain until the end. We put a layer over it and a layer over it. And then suddenly we actually are saying, no, I'm not going to invest my heart fully because I might get hurt. And this is what is the difference between having pure pain, which can say, I'm willing to put my whole heart into anything. Even though I had pain, I transformed it and my heart is now alive, versus being cautious, protective, a bit separate. So when we don't put our awareness on the pain and we don't care for the pain, we separate ourselves. So let's go ahead and try an exercise so that I can put this into practicality, and then we'll ask some questions. But I'd like you to close your eyes if you haven't already and find a way to be well seated wherever you are. So it doesn't mean that you've got to sit upright, but just that you're not slouched on a couch without a lot of energy, because to transform pain, you do need energy. So shift a little bit, close your eyes, and feel where your body is pulling your attention right now. Without questioning it, just go there. And it might surprise you. Did this exercise the other day thinking I was going to go to my low back, and I went to my left calf. Doesn't make sense, but the body's saying, come here. Now stay with that pain and get to know it. Feel the area of the pain. Feel how deep it is in your body. If you suddenly feel like you've got to bounce around in your head, go back to the pain, because that's part of a reaction to pain. Is this the right one? What do I choose? Stay with that pain. Feel if it's heavy, if it's hot or cold. Notice if there are muscles contracting. Without changing it, as you put attention on it, it might actually start to become more highlighted. All of a sudden the volume turns up. Stay with it. Notice just above the pain, And just below the pain, what's happening in your body? Is there something that's tense, held, numb, stiff? Allow that without changing it. And it's so tempting when we first put our attention on something that's disturbing us. So tempting to try to change it by doing, but just be with it. And then ask yourself how long you've had this pain, and let the answer be illogical. It might be something immediate, but it might be something that you recognize it feels like you've had it forever. Now, with whatever contraction or effort you feel in your body, allow that to be there without changing it. And begin actually to emphasize the effort in that area, and it might spread to another area that becomes available. I can feel right now my whole left knee down to my foot contracting, and I feel this little area in my chest contracting. And then take just a moment and see if there's some sort of story around the pain, some sort of story in the way of being. Maybe it's just an overall becoming still and stiff, and that is part of the story. And now the longer you stay in this, the pain has probably already become different in some way. So now all you're going to do, eyes are still closed, begin to breathe. Take a lot more space with the breath and start to soften the area above and below. Above and below the pain. Just soften the muscles if they were contracting. Begin to undo the shape. Taking a lot of breath in, keeping your attention there, and then if movement comes, but without doing something automatic, if movement comes, allow it. It might be subtle, it might be surprising. You might need to move another area of your body that somehow is connected to that area. You might need to stretch and to yawn. You might want to touch the area, like naturally give it the care that it needs. Breathing fully, and let your whole body stay aware of that area. You're everything connected to that area. And the change may be slight. The change may just be that you are now aware of it in a different way. That's a simple point of transformation. It could be that you softened the way that you disconnect from it. So taking a deep breath, see how you are. See how the area is. Breathe some more. And then as you're ready, open your eyes and feel your presence where you are now. Feel if something shifted. Move whatever needs to move. And notice how a pain that may have started in your right foot is now asking for you to move everything. This is how the body gathers to touch and heal and transform pain. So it's a really simple exercise, what I just took you through. But notice right now if the area of pain is any different. And if you feel different, just by putting your attention there, by taking the time, the space, giving it care, and now just letting your body rest into this new experience, which may have opened different sensation, flow, movement. Take a few nice breaths, settling into this transformed experience of your body. And I'll just wrap it up before I can take some questions, but remember that pain wants to be touched. It never wants to be avoided. It does not want to be postponed. And you may think I'll get to it when I can. But if you touch the pain, you're meeting it where where your needs are. And you don't have to, get a massage and do some breathing exercises. It doesn't have to, if you were in the panel before, it doesn't have to be a long, experience of an hour every day. What we just did was about 3 minutes long and something transformed, and you can do that anywhere. But to touch the pain, just remember that, when you go and get a massage, when they touch that point that needs to be touched, that one where your whole body's been craving it, your nervous system settles, your body relaxes, because the pain is finally being met. So if I can offer you anything in this self-care framework, is give yourself the circumstances to meet the pain. Give it some more space. Give it breath. And when you need it, give it rest so that your body digests it, with the idea that overall you begin to shift and transform and reconnect. Because the ripple effects of when you transform pain go out into the world. So I guess, Steve, I should just go to the question and answer.
Yeah, there's a few there. The earliest ones were towards the bottom of it, so I don't know if it makes sense to scroll to the bottom with Jessica's one and then scroll up.
Okay, what if we repetitively, like daily for years, sit with the pain, see it, feel it, witness, have kindness for it, and it continues to increase? I'd have to probably know more specifics like that, because there might be some sort of block that's there. I don't know. It might mean that you need to give some more room for the emotional content of the pain. Why don't you, Jessica, try this exercise of going to the pain and rather just witnessing it and having kindness for it, build this contraction around it just a little bit, not excessively, because it sounds like you've really been working with it for quite a while. And start to notice what happens, because the thing about the exercise that I just took you on very quickly is if you stay with that longer and you start to really feel into the entire shape your body takes around the pain, and then you really choose for maybe like 30 seconds or a minute to become that shape, right? Because in what you wrote, there can be now a story of powerlessness. So if you add to the shape, the powerlessness, which is painful, and you start to give that just a little bit of energy, when you release it, that emotion becomes emotional flow. And that can start to shift and transform it open. The next question of difficult to locate mental pain, critical thoughts in the body, how would you locate these? What I wouldn't do is say, where am I holding this critical thought in my body? I would just go to the body and see where's their pain. So, is it in your gut? Is it in your shoulders? And in doing that short exercise, again, just like I suggested to Jessica, is if you go into, say you've got a lot of shoulder tension, and you go into the shoulder tension and you start to realize that the tone of the critical thoughts are coming up, you notice that. And you notice maybe the shame that it wakes up in your body and the heartache that it wakes up in your body. Do you become the shape? And it'll start to intensify the actual pain. where the heartache happened, where somebody maybe long ago criticized you and you contracted around it rather than having the safety conditions to feel the space for it. And then you soften it and you breathe. Again, if emotional flow comes, let it come. Let it source all the way up to your head. Like it's a flow. It's actually a physical flow. I'm calling it emotional flow, but it can be heat and fluidity. Take some breath and see if your body, just by doing that and by taking more space, if that starts to soften the critical thoughts. So that's what I would start with if you can't locate the mental pain. Let me see what else is here. Rolling up. So, yeah, because of a lot of rest, the body now feels rusty. So there's so much blockage in movement, like literally learning to walk again. What's my opinion on that? Do the exercise that I just did with the rusty spots. Go to the rustiness. Intensify the rustiness. I can have rustiness in my right hip. If I go to my right hip and I start to feel into it and contract it a little bit more, it highlights it and then I can release it. So maybe go to the areas where you feel rusty before you go out for the walk. Do a little contracting in that area. So like contracting your shoulder, which means you're putting attention there and energy and time. And then when you release it, it's not that it's suddenly going to be, wow, so much fluidity and this is great, but something will soften. A few of those contracted muscle tissues will start to release and ask for movement. So I would say add another, like taking the time, be curious. What do I need? Maybe I need to start to walk a little bit more slowly. Maybe I need to take a few breaths as I'm beginning to put my feet on the ground. You can see how with these questions even, it's like stories start to create. The powerlessness that we feel underneath the pain is energy that we need to learn to release. It's part of the pain. It's not separate from it, but that's where the fear is. Scary to feel powerless for even a minute. But what if you felt the pain and you settled back in and you actually allowed yourself to feel just for a minute how scary it really is? But with breath, with your feet on the ground, with a supportive chair or bed or couch, safe place, and you gave it a few more breaths and you gave it a bit more room. I trust the body constantly wants to heal. So we have to find ways to undo and melt the story. Scientific articles, I don't have them, Anya. I am a very experiential worker. So there are tons of them and will appeal to you in different ways on pain and what the body does with pain. Am I saying that pain is like a persistent alarm insistently ringing? It might insistently ring. It might just occasionally be like a dull sound that you feel. But yes, when you go to it and you let it become you, you don't separate from it like, I've got this thing. You let it become you. It shifts your nervous system because you're taking care of what you need to take care of. Your body is met. Your needs are being met. The focusing approach. No, it's very similar, that little exercise. It's not work I draw from. A lot of my work is from the Grinberg method. I trained in it for almost 20 years. So let's go ahead and just do an exercise because I know we're reaching the end of the time and I want to be really respectful of it. I'm happy to offer my email if you want to. I think, where's the email or my website, Steve?
I can put that in here as well. It's on the portal, so not in Blue Jeans.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
those people viewing it.
Okay. So it's on the portal of Fierce Embodiment. Let me just ask this last question about TRE. How to integrate the tremors and getting in touch with the pain as I demonstrated. It's a different technique. So what I can suggest is if while you're doing that technique, you feel that you're contracting and efforting in other parts of the body, you can, for just a moment, notice like, oh, the tremors are starting in this technique, but I'm trying to resist it and minimize it by contracting. Can I soften that contraction, breathe, and give a little more space to the tremors, which is actually physical fear moving through the body. So let's just do an exercise. All right, so close your eyes. Again, I find that a really nice way to connect the body. Bring your hand onto, and maybe both hands onto your chest. And just as a way of closing this, recognize that there's pain in your body. And it can be frightening. It can feel sometimes like there's no end, as a few of you wrote. And as you breathe, you can give the fear that might be there some space. You can give the whatever emotion is there some space. Trust that your body is constantly seeking healing. It never stops because it's alive. A live body wants to feel and sense, vibrate, connect, strong, flexible, adaptable. So when you take care and you give yourself the time and the space and the attention that wherever you're hurting is asking for, something will transform. Take 3 more breaths. And then as you finish that 3rd breath, you can just take your hands away and release it down. Open your eyes and again feel the aliveness and sensations in your body. And I would recommend that if you're going to hop into the next talk, that you get up and move, because being seated for as many hours as you guys are so generously coming to and paying attention with, and can feed into the chronic patterns of our body. Make sure that you take care. So,
Thank you, Marcella. I've put the website down there, fierceembodiment.com. You can also find it on the portal if you're live streaming from there. So wonderful as always, and I didn't necessarily close my eyes during those exercises, but just paying attention to the embodiment and then absorb in, which is just as nice, right? It's like co-regulation we were just chatting about before.
yeah.
So thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm going to have to do this quickly. So everyone as well, if once you've already opened up Marcella's stuff, you can also go across the Embodiment Conference portal there. Set aside the dates from 14th to 25th of October. Marcella's going to be there along with at least 999 other people. So you'll need a little bit of time. I imagine that no one will be able to watch them all live because you're not in 10 or 11 places at once. And so what that means is if you do want to be able, there'll be replays, but if you do want to get the full package of the Embodiment University, you can upgrade now. The reason why it'd be nice to upgrade now is you get access to a tutorial group along with the package now, and you get all the self-care recordings as well. So if you upgrade, the tutorial group's really nice because it helps you to direct your learning. So that's what we like about that. Other stuff, we encourage you to join the Facebook group because we have lots of discussions. We actually decide all heap of stuff over there. Or in the Facebook group is what I've just put in there, so that's perfect. Check out the embodiment circles. We've got plenty of other people leading circles daily if you want to keep this up. And do share the embodiment conference with your friends. They can come and enjoy Marcella and everyone else on there. We ask to share with one friend each. If you want to do more, that's ever so lovely, but one friend each, and we'll be rocking it. So thank you, everyone, and switch over to the next session now.
Can I just do a very short plug?
Sure.
Just if you want to know more, work more with heart pain, I am doing a workshop around rejection. So you can go to my website and we go much further into depth with those little tools that you just got a taste of.
Thank you, Marcella. And we'll catch you later, everyone. See you in the next room. And enjoy your day, even though you might not be able to explore outside too much.
Thanks, Steve. Take care of yourself. Yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, I'll try and follow your kitty and make sure I communicate as I need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.